So let's move into now more of these practices, and we're going to emphasize strong mindfulness, the bringing of character strengths to our mindfulness practices. So to really help us to not take some of these things for granted and to really infuse our mindfulness, to infuse our walking and our sitting and our eating with more of ourself, more of our strengths, more of our joy, more of our zest and gratitude, and so on. So I want to invite us then for mindful sitting to find a position of strength as you sit here. Taking on strength. And just to set this up, I want to link it right with peace. That when you sit, maybe you could see that as bringing peace to the world. Now, I know that might actually sound ridiculous. You're just sitting in your home in France or in California or in Ecuador. How could you possibly be creating peace in the world? But let's look deeply at that. That we create peace when we nurture our mindful attention, we nurture our character strengths. And so then we carry that with our smile. We carry that with our energy, with our self-control, with our curiosity. And then others experience that. And then they can bring it to others. So that is contributing to peace in the world. I mean, because imagine if you didn't do that, if all of us on here didn't do that, then that would be several hundred examples of not doing that, quite frankly. But what if several hundred examples do that? That's something new, right? That's something new that was then created in the world by you, out into the world. So that's why we can think of this as creating peace for ourselves and our family, but also in the world. We have that opportunity. Not perfectly, not all the time, not all encompassing, not easily, but we can contribute. I'm reminded of an experience from 10 years ago, I would say. I was at a meditation gathering and I separated away from the group of a couple hundred people that were, I think, in between things during this kind of day-long retreat. I separated myself and I went up to this kind of meditation hall of this building. You know, I didn't think anybody would be in there and it was going to be this nice quiet place. And so I kind of go in and indeed it was, very quiet, very peaceful meditation hall. And I walk over to find a spot just to, sit on a cushion on the floor. And I noticed there was somebody in the room, just one person in this big kind of vast room. And as I was sitting down, I looked at the person and it was a man probably in his 30s or 40s. And I would describe him, and I mean this in a positive way, but kind of like a plump looking. Now I have some plumpness to my belly, so I can call plump. So he was a little kind of just plump looking, this big guy sitting on this small cushion. But the thing that struck me most was that, his eyes were closed. He may or may not have known I was in the room. His eyes were closed the whole time. But what I noticed was this wonderful, beautiful smile on his face. Not a teethy grin smile, but just a smile where his two sides of his lips were perked up. And I just remember being so struck by that. And he looked so incredibly peaceful. Maybe he felt it inside, maybe he didn't, but he was emanating a sense of peace as he just sat there with this very strong smile. So he was bringing peace. I mean, who would have thought that he was bringing peace to me in that moment? And then here I'm sharing that as an example with all of you. So let's practice cultivating mindfulness and character strengths a little bit. As we hear the sound of the bell, allow yourself to breathe slowly and deeply with the reverberation of it. And in that posture of strength, and with your eyes open or closed, reconnecting with your in-breath and your out-breath. Each breath being an opportunity to be here in the present moment. Each breath an opportunity to see and feel the space. We can discover the space between our end of our inhale and the beginning of our exhale. And the space at the end of our exhale before our inhale. And perhaps you'll notice the space that's there as you're breathing in, all throughout your in-breath and all throughout your out-breath. and noticing the space between sounds. I invite you to consider any obstacle that's coming up right now that's blocking you from enjoying your breathing or enjoying your present moment. So one obstacle, maybe the most common, is mind wandering. The mind going off and thinking about things. We feel frustrated by that. Or we think that our mind is different than everybody else's. Everybody else can do it except for us. Our mind is particularly more difficult because of this or that, or this problem or that problem. All those are obstacles. Everything I just said is an obstacle. All those thoughts are obstacles. Doesn't mean they're not true. It just means they're obstacles that take us away from this breath here. So, which character strength might you turn to handle that mind wandering? Or to handle that obstacle of your judging thought? Will it be, just making this up, will it be kindness turned inward? Will it be perseverance to overcome the obstacle of mind wandering and coming back to the breath? Does it require some inner bravery to face the obstacle directly? Maybe a sense of honesty with yourself? Maybe you'll turn to gratitude that you have a mind and that you have a mind that can be aware of itself. Some people don't. And you can be grateful. Grateful that we have these minds that can do so much beyond our comprehension. Grateful that our minds wander rather than getting upset by it. Grateful we have a mind that can do that. Maybe the strength of hope is relevant for some of us. Infusing the experience with optimism and a sense of positivity for the future, that might help to just fizzle the obstacle. So I don't know. It's up to each person here. It'll be different for everybody. And there is an answer, by the way, for everybody. And that's for us to discover which strength might be useful. And we use the strength then, and we come back to our breathing, in and out. And keep using the strength, by the way, not just once. We don't want to just kind of use the strength one time and expect that everything's perfect, but this is your quality. So keep at it. Keep bringing in the hope. Or for some of us, it might be humor, to be playful and to laugh out loud at the obstacle. Nothing wrong with that during meditation. Smile to it. Giggle. Do something silly like jumping jacks or something, and then come back. So, whatever it is, use one of your strengths repeatedly, repeatedly to handle the obstacle. And then the sounds come in. And we've already had some of that throughout our retreat here, whether it's people joining the call that are unmuted, or whether it's the technical issues that came up for me. Maybe it sounds in your own room, a child or a dog or a cat came in the room, a spouse. You hear your phone, which is, I know, not in this room. Your phone is in the other room, but you hear the phone ringing. Oh, these obstacles come up, these sounds. So do we get upset by it and angry? How dare the dog do that? How dare the call come in? Or do we use our strengths to handle the obstacle? Sense of self-regulation, to just come back to the breath and just involve the obstacle in the moment of our experience? Do we use humor to laugh at the obstacle? Do we use curiosity, creativity, perspective to step back? So that's for each of us to decide. So again, we use the strength more than once to handle the obstacle, to give us a sense of perspective, and we come back to our in-breath, back to our out-breath. And then the pain starts. We start to get a tension in our neck, our back, or our lower back pain starts to flare up a little bit. And that also is an obstacle. For some people, it's a deal breaker. For other people, they deliberately bring their mindfulness and character strengths to the table. I'm not saying you don't move and adjust yourself and stretch or attending to your body, surely. That would be using the strength of kindness to your body. But sometimes the pain keeps going. So that's an obstacle to the present moment, your present moment. So what strengths will you use? Again, not with the intention of just taking away all pain from your life, but as a way of facing the obstacle, overcoming it, seeing it in a different way. You have 24 possible choices. Obviously, far more than that, because each of those choices has thousands of choices within it. But 24 rooted in you choices to turn to. For some of us, bravery is appropriate to face the pain. Because typically, as human beings, and I do this too, we can avoid the pain. We run from it. Sometimes that might help, but a lot of times it keeps it going. So maybe we face it with our breathing. Maybe we use curiosity to explore the sensation and to breathe with it. Some people tell me in these moments they use gratitude because they're grateful that they have their body to be able to walk and move, even though there is this reality of uncomfortable pain. But there's also gratefulness there. Both can coexist. Other people say they turn to love in those moments. Love for other people, just to express it. And that has a power, but also to themselves and to their body, taking a friendly approach to their body rather than a tight, tension, angry approach to the body, or a fearful, anxious, scared approach to the body. So this is for each of us to use this amazing mind capacity called mindfulness to bring that to the table with the idea of awareness and understanding. And then we bring our character strengths to the table to help us with any obstacles to our present moment. And when we're ready, we come back to the in-breath and out-breath. Let me give you another example. As you're sitting here, you might, if we sat here long enough, everybody would experience what I'm about to say. You might start to feel a sense of antsiness or edginess, or your ankles are falling asleep, or again, tension from keeping the body in a particular position. And I know I've experienced that so many times, hundreds of times, sitting on a cushion with a group of people, or sitting in a chair with a group of people. So I like to think of it as being very practical. So there's tons of choices here with that obstacle, but the two main ones. One is to persevere and to breathe and to keep going and to strengthen your mindfulness to show you can overcome those challenges. You can overcome that suffering. If you can overcome the suffering of sitting still, I know it sounds weird, but that's true. If you can overcome the suffering of sitting still, then what other kinds of suffering in your personal life can you overcome too that you didn't know? So that's one big choice. But the other one, and I'm not saying one is better than the other, and I would encourage many people to do the second choice if you're feeling that antsiness and so on. Second choice, get up. Literally, get up, move. Just move your body, and that's using your kindness. But to do it, though, here's the key. Is don't just do it and like, oh, I'm done with this sitting that Ryan's doing with that. But instead, do it with great gentleness and mindfulness. So if you're going to get up because of the antsiness is bothering you or the foot falling asleep, get up gently, feeling your body and all the muscles as you stand. Maybe your eyes are still closed. As you balance on one leg to shake the foot out. Do that with great attention, feeling the body moving, right? So that way, with whatever your choice is, you're doing it with mindfulness. You're doing it with your character strengths. And that's one of the beauties of doing an online retreat, because you don't have that social demand. If you're sitting in the group with 20 people and we're all in a circle, and then you do that second choice of standing up and shaking out your leg, you might feel self-conscious. Probably most of us would, and we probably wouldn't do it. And we'd probably sit there getting more upset. But here, it's online. Many of your cameras are off. So just do that, but do it with attentiveness. Then you're still cultivating mindfulness. Let's sit for a couple minutes in silence until I invite the bell. Breathing in, aware that this is your in-breath. Breathing out, aware this is your out-breath.